What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about my top 3 triggers for the Glock, your polymer 80, whatever frame you're building that is built on the Glock platform. And then of course I'm going to give an honorable mention. So there's a couple of things we're going to go by here, one of which is going to be the safety. So all of the ones that we're going to talk about today are going to be 100% complete safe. They all maintain the Glock safeties. And then we're going to talk about the reliability and functionality of them, because there are several major brands out there, some of which are a little bit more aggressive than others, and some of those can cause problems based on how they were actually designed. Now there is a playlist link down below where I go over each trigger individually in depth and how it performed and everything out there. That's in the playlist down below to give you guys an idea if this is your first time here. I have tested everything from Apex, Arsenal Democracy, Overwatch Precision, Factory USA, Tactical Pontoon, Timney, Zev triggers, Glock Store triggers, just a ton of different stuff that is out there. Steel City Arsenal, those as well. There's just a bunch of them, and I know I'm forgetting several, but there's a lot of triggers out there for the Glock setup, and I've tested a bunch of those. So if you're interested in any of those individually, you can check that link down below. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get into what are my top 3, and then like I said, I will give an honorable mention to one that is very specifically quite nice, but new to the market out there. We'll get into each one of them. I'll kind of go over why I feel the way I do about it, why it's in my top 3. We will do some pull tests on all of them individually, so you can get an idea of where they pull at. Make sure you guys check out Shall Not Comply for all of the merch for the channel. They handle all that stuff for me. Really appreciate that. Johnny and Emily over there are doing awesome things. They help out me and Reno May and Guns and Gadgets, and I think TGC, the Gun Collective, and several others, handling all the merchandise, which is super awesome because that is very time consuming. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification icons on. If you find this video good at all or entertaining or helpful, give the video a thumbs up. But we are going to get into several of these triggers right now. And no, I'm not going to refilm that, even though the light just blinded you guys on camera. All right, so in 100% no particular order, we're going to start talking about these triggers. Let's go ahead and talk about the Overwatch first right here. Now, the Overwatch Precision triggers come in a couple of different ways. You can get the polymer version, the aluminum version, and you can get the polished or NP3 coated trigger bar, but that's how it comes. You can buy stuff separately like connectors and all that, but the trigger comes the way it comes. And I want to say generally it's right around like 125 to 130-ish. Prices are kind of all over the place, and especially depending on if you can find a coupon code or not. So the way that this trigger is designed, you've got a nice little hook there at the bottom. As you can see on that trigger shoe, the trigger shoe safety goes 100% flush to the trigger shoe, and overall feels very nice. So this trigger shoe has a very good defined wall and a very solid break. There is very minimal creep in there at all. Check that reset, and then I'll go as slow as I can. You can see a little bit of creep right there, and then it breaks. So getting past having any creep in a Glock trigger is extremely difficult, just because of how that system is designed. It's really kind of a sloppy trigger system, and that's unfortunately the way that it is. Let's go ahead and do 2 trigger pulls on this, and we will see exactly what it's at. Now I pull low because I put my finger low, because leverage. The lower you are, the better trigger pull you have. So you can see that one right there, pulled at about 4 pounds and 2 ounces. That is a little bit low from what I normally get, but we'll do 2 on each and just call it good. So that one was right there at 4.5, which is pretty much what I expected. So we'll go ahead, put this one to the side, and let's talk about the Factor USA trigger right there. You can see very nice look. Again, a flat face all the way through. That trigger shoe safety does go all the way flush. Overall, a solid setup. Newer to the market. They have not been around that long, but they have done a good job right off the bat. A couple of different ways this comes. They have a couple of different colors, and then they do have springs that are, depending on the kit, they have a different spring for your striker block safety in there, which does make the trigger feel a lot smoother going over that. Now, the spring tension is still enough to where it's not going to defeat the inertial safety. So that is definitely a concern, but the only reason I'm putting this one in here is because, like I said, these are all 100% safe setups. So let's go ahead and check this trigger out. You can see right there, pretty short take up, nice solid wall, and a pretty solid, clean break. There's the reset. Now let's go real slow and you'll see just a minimal amount of creep in this one right there. So not bad overall. We'll do a couple pulls on this one as well, so you guys can get a really good idea of what the weight is pulling out. About 4 pounds and 4 ounces right there, which is exactly what I expect out of here. Between that and 4.5 pounds. And again, this is our factory connectors and all of these, but everything has been polished internally in these, which does help quite a bit as well. You can see that one is just under, it's about 4 pounds and 6 ounces. So solid trigger system, everything is good to go on these ones. Let's talk about the Apex right here. So Apex is one of the OGs. They got that Freedom Flatty right there, just a nice trigger. You can see a little bit longer take up than say the Overwatch, and maybe about the same as the Factor. Very good defined wall, and then a nice solid clean break. So we'll do that again. Here's your reset. Right there, now there's the wall. A little bit of creep and a break. So originally on the Gen 5 versions of the Apex triggers, they actually remachined Gen 3 bars. So the ones with the Gen 3 bars that were originally designed and remachined for the Gen 5s, they actually feel a little bit better than the Gen 5 bars. I know that's kind of weird, but that's just been my experience. So let's go ahead, do a couple of pulls on this one. Oops, slipped up a little bit there. Get on that trigger shoe. So we are right there, just in line with all the others, about 4 pounds and 4 ounces. And again, this trigger shoe safety does go sub flush, but the new versions of the Apex triggers, okay, we're just at about 4 pounds and 2 ounces on that one. A little bit lighter on that than I expected. So the new version of the Apex triggers, instead of the thin blade of aluminum, it's actually a thicker polymer. It actually feels a little bit better on the finger. So in no particular order, those are kind of my top 3 because of the safety, the feel, and the functionality of all of them. And I just trust every one of these at any point. I would carry any one of these because they work in everything I've put it in, from Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, Nomads, P80s, Strike 80 frames, everything out there. Which leads us to the honorable mention, which is the Timney trigger right here. This thing is just like nothing else out there. So there's the wall, there's the break. Check the reset, and then the hard wall, 0 creep. I mean, no creep to the noticeable finger, and just breaks. So they redesigned this complete setup, all the mechanism down and the trigger housing group and everything. If you want to see the full video on this, definitely check it out. We will do some pull tests on this thing because it pulls 3.5 or slightly under sometimes, depending on where that trigger gauge is. You can see that one right there is 3 pounds and about 2.5 ounces. We'll do another one, call it good. Again, right there, extremely consistent at that 3 pounds and 2 ounces. So like I said, completely redesigned setup in here, and you'll notice that even though the trigger's been pulled, it goes back out. That's not normal, and that's just how it works because they have redesigned that trigger shoe. So honorable mention, competition only, my top 3 in no particular order. Let's go ahead, talk about the benefits of these, wrap this up. Well, that is my top 3 triggers for the Glock platform. And some of you may have ones that you like better over the others. There are several triggers that I kind of keep going back to because of the way they perform. I know the safeties. I kind of like how they feel and how they react. There are a couple of others that I'm still doing more long-term and ongoing testing on. These are the ones I have the most amount of rounds through that I know time and time again are gonna work in anything Glock, anything P80, the Strike 80, and Nomad defense frames, whatever you're building out there, I know that those ones will work. Apex is one of the originals, okay? That Apex, the Freedom Flatty right there, They are one of the people that started the whole trigger thing, got into it, did it right, maintain the safeties, and they do testing pretty much like nobody else out there does. Along with them is definitely going to be the people over at Overwatch Precision. I know both of those people, or not both of those people, I know a lot of people at both of those companies. They are all great people. They all do exactly what needs to be done when it comes to designing those triggers. And safety is their #1 concern when it comes to designing a trigger for pretty much anything that they have triggers for, because both of those companies are making a ton of different triggers now. And then one of the newer ones out of that group is gonna be that Factory USA trigger right there. So they are a newer company and they make everything from the slimline stuff up through the full size stuff. They've got a pretty good system going on out there with some of the different springs, and I'm not a huge fan of springs, but the springs that they have chosen that they work with are still keeping everything safe, and it's giving you a far better trigger in the feel and the functionality. And then of course they do look pretty good as well. Everybody likes a different look. Everybody likes a different feel when it comes to the feel of a trigger. I like a flat face on the pistols, and I like a solid or more solid wall. Some people like a rolling wall. I don't like that. I want to know where the wall is, and then I want to know right after that wall that trigger is going to break. Now these are some of the better ones that accomplish that overall goal of what I like in those departments. They have a range of different prices and different kits that are available for them, so you can check all of that stuff out on your own. Now that honorable mention, the Timney trigger, that thing is absolutely unlike anything else in the market. If you want to see the review on this, definitely check it out. This trigger is insane. It's like nothing else out there because they completely redesigned how that trigger system works in its entirety. And they did it at a price point that I think is making a lot of other companies kind of figure out what they're doing with their prices, because this is coming out at a price that the other ones, some of which out there like Agency, it's the same price, but you're getting a far better trigger setup. The reason that this one is an honorable mention and not one of the top 3 is because it's a competition only trigger. Now I feel comfortable carrying that. It's very light. It does not have much of a wall. Once you get to it, you just break right through it. But you've got to be very careful if you're going to EDC a trigger like that. That's why it's an honorable mention and not in the top 3, because if it were just Glock triggers in general, this would probably be numero uno for me. But again, competition design trigger only, but it is very cool. If you get your hands on one, try it, and you're probably gonna like it. Well, that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you liked the video and liked learning about my top 3 triggers and then an honorable mention. Like I said, there are a ton of other ones out there. A lot of good companies making triggers, very tough decisions here. I'll try to leave links for all this stuff down below, but I can't leave links for those parts because it's against the YouTube policy. So if you check that first link in the description, it's gonna take you off either my webpage or somewhere else where this video is, where you can check all of those out. Those are our affiliate links, and I would really appreciate it if you use those. That does help the channel out quite a bit, and it keeps the lights on around here, and it keeps the cool new gear coming in for me to review for you guys. A huge thank you to all of my Patreons out there. You guys are massively helpful to the channel. If you guys are interested in any of the 2A merch or the channel merchandise here for Tactical Considerations, check out the link down below for Shall Not Comply. They are handling all of that stuff for me. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, turn the bell notification icons on. Get out there and have some fun on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, and I will see you guys on the next one.